If you're a Steelers fan and you think that the Steelers cannot have success with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, and you think Rodgers is completely washed, he's too old, and he cannot be a good quarterback in the National Football League any longer, today I'm going to blow your mind. Today I'm going to be breaking down some quarterback comparisons between Rodgers last year and some other quarterbacks in NFL history, and why I think that Aaron Rodgers can have a similar career trajectory as two other NFL greats at the position that were able to turn it around with new teams past the age of 40. Before we get into the video today and in the content, I'm going to tell you, man, I'm going to blow your mind today. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for our massive live show whenever Aaron Rodgers ends up making his decision, whether he ends up going to the Steelers, whether he ends up going to the New York Giants, whether he decides to retire. We are going to be going live on this channel when the Rodgers decision goes down, so make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for our breaking news coverage. So let's start off here with what the narrative is surrounding Aaron Rodgers. We actually put up a poll on this channel a couple weeks ago. What would be the worst case scenario for the Steelers at quarterback this year? Over 40% of people said it was Aaron Rodgers over guys like Daniel Jones and guys like Kirk Cousins. All right, and right now the narrative surrounding Rodgers is that he's 41 years old. He's too old to get back to being a high-end producer at the quarterback position in the National Football League after struggling with the New York Jets last year and only collecting 5 wins as the quarterback of the New York Jets last year. But there are some quarterback comparisons that I want to share with you guys in NFL history that I think point to the fact that he could still have success with a new NFL team if he can find the right fit. So let's go to quarterback number 1 here, okay? So you take a look at the stat comparisons. Now, this quarterback that we're comparing to Rodgers did have a higher completion percentage, but they had the same average yards per attempt. Rodgers had a higher touchdown percentage, a far lower interception percentage, and a far higher quarterback rating. Any guesses as to what quarterback this is? I'll give you a hint. It's another quarterback that played for the New York Jets, and that is Brett Favre in 2008, the year before he went to the Minnesota Vikings. And, of course, as we know, Brett Favre ended up going to the Minnesota Vikings the next year after this season, after Favre threw a 4.2 interception percentage and honestly played worse than Rodgers did last season. And then the next year, of course, Favre, who was 40 years old at the time, goes to the Minnesota Vikings and leads that team to a 12-4 season. And then you got to remember here, guys, the Minnesota Vikings were just 10-6 the year prior to getting Brett Favre. Sound familiar, Steelers fans? 10 wins, first-round playoff exit? Sure sounds familiar to me. And what did he do? He had one of the best seasons of his career going to Minnesota. All right, his completion percentage jumped over 3 points there. The yards per attempt number jumped over a yard. The touchdown percentage goes from 4.2 to 6.2, a 2-point jump. And then the interception percentage goes from 4.2, one of the highest of his illustrious career, to just 1.3 in the quarterback rating as a result. Jumps over 20 points. And of course, what was the result of that season? Yeah, a 40-year-old Brett Favre took that Minnesota Vikings team that was a one-and-done playoff exit team with 10 wins, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers were last year, to a conference championship game. And honestly, if it wasn't for a stupid interception in the final moments against the Saints there, the Minnesota Vikings maybe would have gone to the Super Bowl instead of the Saints, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. So it's very possible that Brett Favre, a 40-year-old Brett Favre, could have won a Super Bowl with the Minnesota Vikings that season, just 1 year removed from arguably the worst year of his entire NFL career. But hold on here, guys. We're not done just yet. There's still a quarterback that we need to discuss on today's show that ended up actually fulfilling the prophecy and delivering a Super Bowl for the team that he ended up going to after having his career worst season. But before we get into that, guys, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. You guys can go chatsports.com/DK to pick up a DK Metcalf Steelers jersey now that we know that his jersey number is going to be the number 4. If you guys want to get your DK Metcalf jersey right now, you can pre-order it with our friends at Fanatics. Use our link, chatsports.com/DK. And if you're planning on getting a Metcalf jersey, I really recommend that you use our link down there in the comments and description, guys, because it helps out the channel. We get a portion of the proceeds every time a purchase is made. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. So if you're ready for the DK Metcalf era here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, go to chatsports.com/DK and get your jersey today. So let's do this again here, Steelers fans. Here's another quarterback that was over 40 years old, ended up going to a new team. And, the year prior to going to that new team, his numbers were just objectively worse than Aaron Rodgers' were last season. Rodgers had the higher completion percentage, the higher yards per attempt, the higher touchdown percentage. Now, the interception percentage was a little bit higher than this other quarterback's, but still below 2, so it's perfectly fine. And then the quarterback rating was also higher. You want to guess what quarterback this is? That's right, guys. It is Tom Brady, his final season with the New England Patriots, a season where everybody was talking about how Tom Brady's completely washed. He's a terrible quarterback. And, of course, he ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the following season. And a lot of Buccaneers fans were not happy about that because he was 43 years old at the time, and they were saying things like, oh, he only had a 60.8% completion percentage. He had the lowest yards per attempt of his career in many years to that point. This guy is completely washed. He's 43 years old. He can no longer play at a high level. Then what does he do, guys? At 43 years old, he leaves the New England Patriots to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, of course, the rest is history, where he goes on to have 3 really incredible seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it's absolutely fantastic, man. And Brady is known as somebody that's a legend in Tampa Bay as it stands here right now. And, of course, guys, Tom Brady was 43 years old, so he was actually older than Aaron Rodgers is right now when he ended up going to Tampa Bay. And, of course, he ended up winning a Super Bowl in the first year he was there with the Buccaneers. And, they were even worse. The Buccaneers as an organization was actually in a worse spot than where the Steelers are now when they got Tom Brady. They were 7-9, and they missed the playoffs entirely the season before Tom Brady ended up becoming a Buccaneer. And you guys can see the incredible jump in production that Brady had going from the Patriots to the Buccaneers when he was able to join forces with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Of course, Bruce Arians calling the plays for him. 65.7% completion percentage, nearly a 5-point increase from 2019 to 2020. The yards per attempt jumped an entire yard more per attempt. The touchdown percentage jumped from 3.9 to 6.6. The interception percentage did go up a little bit, but with the increased touchdown percentage, you guys can see there with the final quarterback rating was a big-time jump as well. And then, of course, in the first year there in Tampa Bay, he ended up winning a Super Bowl at 43 years of age. That is older than what Aaron Rodgers has had right now, okay? And then another thing added on top of that was that was during COVID, so you didn't really have a full offseason to work with his players, to work with his guys. He had to learn everything on the fly with masks and all these social distancing guidelines, and he was still able to turn around his career going to Tampa Bay and ended up winning that Super Bowl. And then he also had 2 more successful seasons where he ended up leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to division championships and led them to playoffs when he was 44 and 45 years old, all right? So Tom Brady was certainly able to sustain his career even into his 40s. Now, because of these 2 things, guys, Brett Favre going to the Vikings, having that super successful season in 2009, and then Tom Brady going from the Patriots to the Buccaneers and having 3 consecutive successful seasons with them, you can't tell me that Aaron Rodgers has a 0% chance of bouncing back. All right, Aaron Rodgers is certainly in the same category as guys like Brady and Favre as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, and he also fits the mold of a Favre and Tom Brady because he hasn't lost his arm strength and his arm talent at this point in his NFL career. And that really is the tell for when you know a quarterback is done, guys. When a quarterback loses their arm strength and they're not able to fit those throws into NFL windows like they used to be able to, that's when you know that they're done. But if you still have that arm strength, if you still have that arm talent, and you still have the high-level processing that Aaron Rodgers still possesses, he can absolutely still be a successful quarterback in the National Football League, which is why teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Giants are willing to wait as long as they're willing to wait right now in order to make him their next starting quarterback. And this is what we're seeing from Kirk Cousins right now. That's what we saw from Drew Brees at the end of his career. That's what we saw from Matt Ryan at the end of his career. When you lose your arm strength, you are done as an NFL quarterback. But as long as you can still throw the ball, if you can still sling that pill, if you can still hit those tight windows like Aaron Rodgers still can, you can still be a successful quarterback in the National Football League, at least in my opinion. And that's not what we're seeing from Rodgers. We're not seeing Rodgers lose his arm strength. We're not seeing him have incredible decreases in accuracy or anything like that. Aaron Rodgers is still throwing the ball at a very high level, which is why his numbers last season with the Jets were higher than what Brett Favre's were with the Jets in 2008 and Tom Brady's with the New England Patriots back in 2019. But I will say, at this point in his career, Aaron Rodgers has to play quote-unquote Brady ball. And what I mean by that, guys, is he has to adopt the style that Tom Brady played his entire career with, and he had a ton of success with, by the way. Tom Brady lived in the pocket. He never really escaped the pocket. He was never an out-of-structure playmaker. He played with elite mental processing, both pre- and post-snap. He got the ball out quickly. He protected the football, and he played efficiently, and he stayed ahead of his sticks. With Aaron Rodgers, one of the smartest quarterbacks in the history of the game, somebody that still has high-end arm talent. Somebody that does get the ball out quickly and does protect the football is more than capable of playing this brand of football that allowed Tom Brady at 43 years old to go to Tampa Bay and have 3 consecutive successful seasons to finish out his career there in the Bay, including a Super Bowl championship for that franchise. And it just so happens, guys, that Mike Tomlin is looking for a quarterback to play this style of football, all right? Right now, Mike Tomlin understands that he's got some really, really high-end defensive talent on the defensive side of the ball. He understands he's got a really good wide receiver duo in DK Metcalf and George Pickens, not to mention some nice supplementary pieces in Calvin Austin III, Roman Wilson, Pat Freiermuth, in an offensive line that's young and developing, but then they're also probably going to be drafting a running back, so he understands that he doesn't need a savior at quarterback. This is the things that he is looking for in his starting quarterback, somebody that is an experienced playoff veteran that's not going to be scared of the big moments, somebody that can deliver in the clutch when needed, somebody that protects the football, somebody that avoids the middle of the field. Aaron Rodgers has been known to do that, and then an efficient downfield passer. These 5 things perfectly encapsulate what Aaron Rodgers is all about and what he needs to be at this point in his NFL career to be a success. So for me, it's plain and simple, guys, here. Pittsburgh isn't looking for a savior. This is why they brought in a limited Russell Wilson last year and replaced Kenny Pickett. All right, Russell Wilson is somebody that I still think can play this kind of role, which is why I would be fine if the Steelers ended up bringing back Russell Wilson for this season. But I think that Aaron Rodgers can take this position to an even higher level to what Russell Wilson had last year. And I think that they're looking for that high-functioning game manager, and Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career, in my opinion, is more than capable of delivering that kind of play. Plus, Aaron Rodgers has a massive chip on his shoulder right now, guys. His legacy, he feels, is on the line. He only has 1 Super Bowl championship to his name, and it came early on in his NFL career. He wants to go out on top. He wants to potentially even get another MVP trophy. I don't know if he's ever going to get to that level of play again, but at least he can get to the point here, guys, where he's protecting the football. He's throwing those downfield shots to DK Metcalf and George Pickens, and he is somebody that can have the similar type of career turnaround in his 40s as Brett Favre and Tom Brady did. And I think the numbers from last year with the Jets show that he's more than capable of still doing that. So you got to believe, guys. Let me know down there in the comment section. Have I convinced you that Aaron Rodgers can still play at a high level with the right team in the National Football League? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. If you guys want more in-depth, nerdy videos like this one, make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Had a lot of fun putting this video together today, guys. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. And, of course, when Rodgers eventually makes his decision between the Steelers, Giants, or retirement, or if there's some surprise team that comes in last minute, we will make sure to go live for you guys on this channel for one of our biggest live shows of the entire year. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.